Hi, fifth grade. Yesterday in class, you did the Unit 5 independent review, and I have uploaded the answer key for that so that you can go back and you can check and see how you did on that independent review yesterday. But then today in class, we took some time to do the Unit 5 whole class test review. So down below, you will find that I have attached that document so that you can work out these problems, but I'm also going to work through them on this video. That way, in case you're having trouble with something, you can see the teaching video to go along with it. So I'm going to work through these pretty fast because you can pause the video and stop it anytime that you need to so that you get what you need to out of this video, okay? So if you haven't worked this out yet, pause, workout number 1, then watch the video. Then once I'm done with number 1, pause it, workout number 2, go from there. So this is on you to pause and watch how you need to make sure that you understand, because when you return to school, you are responsible for taking the Unit 5 assessment. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start with number 1. Lucy's kitchen has an area of 74.2 square feet. If the width of the kitchen is 14 feet, what is its length? Well, first I know that I'm dividing because Unit 5 is all division. I just need to know which number goes inside the house, and that would be 74.2. So I'm gonna put that inside the house, which means 14 goes on the outside. I first want to check and make sure I don't have any decimals outside my house, which I don't. So I am ready to start dividing. 14 is going to round to 10, and I'm gonna start with 74. Now when I cover up my back numbers, 1 will go into 7 times, but I think that's gonna be too big. So I'm gonna try a 6 to start out with. Then I need to multiply 14 times 6. 6 times 4 is 24. Put my 4, carry my 2, and that would be an 8. Ooh, that is still too big. I even bumped down 1. So 6 is still too big. I'm going to erase my 6, and I'm going to try a 5. 14 times 5 is what I need to do now. And that gives me 70, which is perfect. So minus 70, which gives me a 4. Then I'm going to bring down my 2, and as I bring down that 2, I should notice that I passed my decimal. If I pass my decimal, I have to put it up top. Then I keep going. So cover up my back numbers. 1 into 4, that would be a 4, but I'm guessing it's probably gonna be a 3. So 14 times 3, and that gives me 42, perfectly what I needed. So this would be a 3 up here, and I would subtract 42, which would give me a 0. So my answer would be 5.3, and the label would be feet, just feet. We only put square feet if the question says what is the area, and that's not what it says this time. All right, going on to number 2. Remember, your responsibility to pause and watch this as you need to. Tubes of paint at the art supply store cost 94 cents each. Lexi paid $18.80 in all for her tubes of paint. How many tubes of paint did Lexi buy? All right, $18.80 is our total, so that goes in the house, and 94 cents goes on the outside. First, I want to check out here. I do have a decimal, so I need to take care of that first. It needs to be moved back 2 spots. If I do that, I go inside the house, and I have to do the same in here, so move it back. I'm going to then recopy my problem with my decimals in their new spot, just so that I do not get confused. And then I'm going to work it out. 94 is going to round to 90, and then inside the house, I'm going to start with 188. Covering up my back numbers, 9 into 18 would be a 2. Then I need to multiply 94 times 2. Ooh, that worked out perfectly. So subtract 188, which gives me a 0. Now, when I subtracted, I got a 0. I can just look. I have 1 more 0 that I could bring down, so I can just add it to my answer. I never passed my decimal point, so my answer would just be 20. And then I have to read the question carefully. Sometimes we automatically assume it's dollars. This one would not be dollars. How many tubes did Lexi buy? So 20 tubes would be the correct answer. All right, moving down to number 3. If you haven't solved, make sure you pause the video and solve it first. Mrs. Spencer divides 201 students into groups of 13 to help with a school fundraiser. The extra students will be used to help with a car wash. How many extra students will there be for the car wash? All right, 201 is our total of students divided by 13. We do not have a decimal out here, so we are ready to go. That would round to 10 if we were rounding that. And we would start with the 20 here. 13 is only going to fit in there one time because 13 times 1 is 13. When I subtract, that's a 7, and then I would bring down my 1. Then I'm going to cover up my back numbers. 1 into 7 would be 7 times, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be a 6. So I'm going to try that. 13 times 6. Ooh, still too big, 78. Darn, I even went down 1. So I need to try 5 this time. It's kind of like number 1. All right, remultiply because we changed our mind. See if this one will work. And that will work. That's 65. So I'm going to subtract 65. 71 minus 65 is going to give me a 6. I don't have anything else to bring down, but it's okay that I have a remainder because there were no decimals here. So remainder 6. 15 remainder 6. But I'm going to read my question carefully. It said, how many extra students will there be for the car wash? Well, the extras is just the remainder. So my answer would be 6 extra students. This time I just needed the remainder to be on my line as my final answer. So read carefully. Alrighty, number 4, last word problem. Pause and solve if you haven't already. Hy-Vee needs to purchase 95 Easter-themed cupcakes to sell at their store. The cupcakes come in packages of 6. How many packages of cupcakes does Hy-Vee need to buy to make sure they have enough? All right, 95 is the total they need, so that goes in the house. 6 on the outside. I'm checking there's no decimal here, and it's 1 digit, so this one should go pretty quickly. 6 into 9 would be 1 time. 6 times 1 is 6. When I subtract, I get a 3, and then I'm going to bring down my 5. 6 into 35 would be 5 times. Subtracting 30. 35 minus 30 is 5. I have nothing else to bring down. I'm looking, there's no decimals, so it is okay to have a remainder. My remainder would be 5. And then I'm going to read my question very carefully. How many packages of cupcakes does Hy-Vee need to buy to make sure they have enough? Well, they can't buy 15 remainder 5 packages of cupcakes. So I'm going to have to round that up. They better just buy 16 to make sure they have enough. So 16 packages would be the correct label. Remember, for your label, look behind how many, and that word is usually my label. All right, I'm going to flip to the next page. We're going to start with powers of 10. So if you need a good review on powers of 10, we're going to start here with number 5 and 6. So if you have not solved, pause the video, solve them first, and then watch through because I'm going to go pretty quick. All right, when it wants me to write it as a power of 10, I'm just going to start copying from the very front. So 7.13 divided by, then when I get to all of these 10s, instead of writing them out, I'm going to put them as a power of 10. So there's 1, 2, 3 of them. So that would be 10 to the power of 3. Then it wants me to solve using that. So remember, this exponent tells me how many spots to move my decimal. And since I'm doing division, I move it forwards, towards the front. So 7.13 was my number. I'm going to move it forward 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. I have a couple of empty loops there, so I fill those in with zeros. So my final answer would be 0.00713. Don't be afraid to write this out to the side to make sure that you can draw your loops and get your decimal moved how it needs to go. Alrighty, number 6, same process. Start at the front, copy down 94, divided by, then when I get to the 10s, I need to count them. There are 2 of them, so that would look like 10 to the power of 2. Then I need to actually solve this. Remember, my 2 tells me how many spots to move my decimal, but 94 does not have a decimal. Remember, if a number does not have a decimal, we add it at the very back. So I would add it right there. Now I'm going to move that decimal 2 spots to the front because I'm doing division. So 1, 2, that means my answer would look like 0.94. Alrighty, scooching on down, 7, 8, and 9 is more powers of 10 stuff. I'm going to go pretty quickly here, so make sure that you have solved these so that you can just check and see how you did. That way you don't have to work them while I do it because I'm going to go fast. Remember, 63 does not have a decimal, so I would add it right behind, and then I'm just going to move it how I need to. 1 time would be 6.3. 2 times would be 0.63. And 3 times, I would need to add an extra 0, so 0.063. Going down to the next one, it already has a decimal, so 1 time, 0.29. 2 times, I need to add a 0, so 0.029. And 3 times, I need to add 2 zeros, so 0.0029. Remember, all of these are moving to the front because we are doing division. Division, they move to the front. All right, one last example here. Moving that decimal up 1, 3.85. Next, I need to move it up 2, so 0.385. And finally, it has to move up 3, which means I need to add an extra 0, 0.0385. I went really, really fast on those, so make sure that you understand. If you need to rewatch, go ahead and rewatch. I just don't want this video to get super, super long. Alrighty, number 10 down here. We are dividing by a 2-digit number. There's no decimal, but I do need to round. That would be close to 40. Then I'm going to start with 63. I think that's only going to go in there 1 time. So 38 times 1 is 38. Subtract. Be careful here. You got to do a little take one, give one. I got a 25. Remember, you can check there. Is this smaller than this? Yes, so I know the 1 was right. Bring down my 0 and go again. So cover up my back numbers. How many 4s will fit into 25? Well, that would be a 6. And then I need to multiply 38 times 6. That would be 228. So I'm going to subtract 228. Do a little take one, give one again. That would be 22. I do not have anything to bring down, but there was no decimals here, so it's okay to have a remainder. 16, remainder 22 would be my final answer. All right, moving on to number 11. If you haven't solved it, pause and solve first. 19 is going to round to 20. There's no decimal there. I'm ready to go. I'm going to start with 60 right here. If I cover up my back numbers, 2 into 6 would be a 3. I need to do 19 times 3, that means. That would be 57, so I'm going to subtract 57, which gives me a 3. Bring down that 0. Cover up my back numbers. 2 will go into 3 just 1 time. 19 times 1 is 19. I love when I get a 1 because that makes my multiplication easy. Take 1, give 1. That gives me an 11. Remember, I can stop and check there. 11 is smaller than 19, so I know I did it right. Bring down my next number, which is the 9. Cover up behind. 2 into 11 would be a 5. Then I need to multiply 19 times 5. Let's see if you can still see what I'm doing here. Sorry, guys. That would be 95. I think I could probably go again. Let me check. 19 times 6. Let's see what that is. Let's see. 9 times 6 is 54. And then that would be 6 plus 5 more would be 11. Yeah, it could go one more time. So I'm going to erase my 5 and change him to a 6 since we changed our mind there. And we're subtracting 114 since that's what that was, which would give me a 5. Nothing else to bring down, but again, there's no decimals here, so remainder is okay. Remainder 5. Alrighty, number 12. This one should be a little bit quicker and easier because it's just 1 digit, no decimals involved. So 6 into 54 would be 9. 6 times 9 is 54. So swipe, that would give me 0. Bring down that 3. 6 into 3 would be 0. Remember, don't freak out, it's just like any other number. 6 times 0 is 0. Subtract, that's a 3. Bring down the 6. 6 into 36 would be 6. 6 times 6 is 36, which gives me a 0. Nothing left to bring down and no remainder this time, just 906. Alrighty, I'm moving right along to the last page here. I'm going to kind of skip around on here. We'll do all the 1 digits first and then save the 2 digits for the very, very end since those are the trickiest. So again, pause the video if you need to. Make sure you've solved these first. I'm going really fast because you should just be checking your work to see if you got it correct. All right, there's no decimals outside my house, so I'm ready to start. 7 into 30 would be a 4. 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract, that's a 2. Bring down the 1. As I bring that down, I should notice I passed my decimal point. So you need to copy your decimal up here, then keep going. 7 into 21 would be 3. 7 times 3 is 21, which gives me a 0. So 4.3. If you pass your decimal, you have to write it up top. Alrighty, number 14. I am dividing by 4. No decimal out here, so I'm ready to start. I'm going to have to start back here with 26. And as I start with 26, I notice I'm already behind my decimal. So I need to copy my decimal up here before I even start because we're already behind it. Now we can start going. That would be a 6. 6 times 4 is 24. So subtract, which gives me a 2. Now I have nothing to bring down, but this is decimals. I cannot have a remainder. What do I do if I look like I'm going to have a remainder, but I need to keep going? Remember, you add a 0 back here. Don't add one at the top, though. Just a 0 down here, and then I go again. How many 4s will go into 20? That would be a 5. 4 times 5 is 20. Now it worked out perfectly. So 0.65 would be my answer there. All right, moving right along to number 15. Outside the house, ooh, we do have a decimal this time, so we need to take care of that. It's going to have to move back 2 spots. If I do that out here, I have to go inside my house. But there's no decimal to move inside of my house. If there's no decimal, I add zeros. So however many spots I moved my decimal, that's how many zeros I'm going to add inside of the house. Now I'm going to X out these zeros just because they don't matter up front there. We are dividing by 9. 9 into 72 is 8. 9 times 8 is 72. So when I subtract, I get a 0. Now remember, after I subtract and I get a 0, I'm going to look. I have 2 more zeros I could bring down, so I'm going to add them to my answer. You can't forget to look for those zeros. Alrighty, we'll save that one for a little bit because that's a 2-digit, so let's scooch you on down here. All right, we're dividing by a decimal, so we have to move that back 1. When I move that back 1, I have to go inside my house and move this back the same amount. Now, I'm going to rewrite that with my decimals in the new spot just so that I don't get confused. It would look like that. And then we're ready to go. 4 into 10 would be a 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract, that's a 2. Bring down the 8. I didn't pass the decimal yet, so I'm good to keep going. 4 into 28 would be a 7. 4 times 7 is 28. Subtract, I get a 0. And I never passed my decimal, so 27 would be my answer for that one. All right, moving on to 18 over here. Remember, if you haven't solved these, make sure you do first. I'm going super fast. You don't have time to keep up. You need to solve first, and then you're just checking as you watch the video. Hopefully you're doing that. All right, I'm dividing by a decimal again, so move him back 1. Then I have to move this one back 1, and I'm going to recopy my problem just to make sure I don't get confused, getting my decimals in their new spot. All right, we're ready to go, dividing by 7. 7 into 24 would be a 3. 7 times 3 is 21. When I subtract, I get a 3. Bring down. As I bring down that 5, I notice that I passed my decimal, so I have to copy it up there into my answer. 7 into 35 now would be a 5. 7 times 5 is 35, which would give me a 0. So 3.5 is my answer on that one. All right, we're getting really close. Number 19, make sure that you've solved it before you watch the video. Press pause if you need to. I'm dividing by a decimal, so move this guy back 1. If I do that, I have to go inside my house. There's no decimal though, so remember I'm going to add a 0. I just moved 1 spot, so 1, 0. I'm dividing by 3. 3 into 9 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So subtract, that's a 0. Bring down the 7. Go again. 3 into 7 would be a 2. 3 times 2 is 6. When I subtract, I get a 1. Bring down that 8 and go again. 3 into 18 would be a 6. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract, I get a 0. So I'm going to look. I have 1 more 0 that I could bring down, so I'm going to add it behind my answer. And if you're really good, you get a comma in there. 3,260. Oh, you better be kidding me. Are we still going here? My computer shut off. Well, hopefully we're still working here. Hang in there with me. We just have 2 more. I know it's getting a little bit long. Alrighty, this one we are dividing by 12. Even though that's a 2-digit number, it's basically like a 1-digit number because we have our multiplication chart which goes all the way to 12s. So use that to help you. So 12 into 40, that would be a 3. 12 times 3 is 36. When I subtract, I get a 4. Then I'm going to bring down the 1 and go again. So 12 into 41 would be 3 again, which is 36. When I subtract, I get a 5. Bring down. Now, as I bring down this 4, I notice that I passed my decimal again, so get it up there in my answer. All right, 12 into 54. I'm going to keep going, so that's a 4. 12 times 4 is 48. When I subtract, I get a 6. I have nothing left to bring down, but I cannot have a remainder with a decimal. What do I do to keep going? I just add a 0 down here. Alrighty, 12 into 60 would be a 5. 12 times 5 is 60, so that gives me a 0. So 33.45 would be our answer. And last but not least is up here on number 16. We are dividing by a decimal, so move this guy back 2 times. Then I have to go inside the house and move him back 2 times. I'm going to recopy so that my decimals are in their new spot so that I do not get confused. And I'm going to round 16 to 20. And inside my house, I need to start with 27. All right, well, 20 is only going to fit in there 1 time, so I'm going to guess it's a 1. 16 times 1 is 16. I'm going to subtract. That would give me an 11. Remember, I can stop and check. 11 is smaller than 16, so I was right. Bring down my next number, which is a 2, and then cover up in the back. 2 into 11 would be a 5, and then I need to multiply 16 times 5 and see if that works. 5 times 6 is 30. That would be 8. Ooh, that's pretty small. 80 into 112. I'm guessing this needs to go up maybe a couple. I'm going to try a 7 next because I think 6 will still be too small. I'm going to try 7. 16 times 7 is what I need to multiply. That would be a 2. Ooh, that was perfect. 7 was the right choice. 6 would have still been too small. So subtract 112, which gives me a 0. I never passed my decimal and there's nothing to bring down. So 17 would be my answer. Again, I went really quickly through that because I wanted you to solve it first. Make sure that you rewatch any part that you need to so that you're ready to take your Unit 5 assessment when you return to school. And I'm sorry that my computer shut off there for a second in the middle of the video. Hopefully it kept right on going for you. Do your very best. Study, study, study. Bye.